I was actually tossed up between medical school and veterinary school for a really long time. I didn't know which. I knew I wanted to care for creatures. I wasn't sure whether to go the human way or the animal way. And in undergrad, all of the pre-med stuff and all of the pre-vet stuff are exactly the same. So at some point, you have to figure out which terrifying test you want to take and which set of schools you want to apply to. But all like the chemistry and physics and math, all of that is exactly the same. And so I ended up deciding to be a person doctor, mostly because there was a show called Emergency Vets back in the day. I don't know if you guys ever saw that on Animal Planet. It basically made me cry way too much, where I'm like, I'm never going to make it through veterinary school. We can't do this. So I applied to medical school and went to medical school. And even in medical school, initially, I had no idea as to what kind of doctor I wanted to be. I was like, I guess I'll get into clinicals and I'll figure it out. And it became very clear to me once we started clinical rotations that I really liked pediatrics. I very much preferred kid patients to adult patients. And then, so I went to pediatrics residency. And then even at the beginning of pediatrics residency, what kind of pediatrician do you want to be? I don't know. Do I want to be a generalist? Do I want to be a specialist? What do I want to do? I went through all of the rotations that we go through in pediatrics residency. And really for me, I'm a sort of a general pediatrician because one, I really found what I liked doing was continuity of care. So getting to see kids over time, even during residency. Some of the babies that I started with in our little resident clinic were 3 when I left, and it was hard to say goodbye to them. And that there was no subspecialty that I liked so much, that I was so passionate about, that I really only wanted to learn more about that. So for me, it was really just a natural keeping an open mind process of elimination in terms of what felt like it worked for me.
Wow. And for people that don't live in Northern Virginia, DC, or Maryland, crossing the river, the Potomac River, from the Maryland side to the Virginia side is considered treason and going to another country. Both ways. People from Virginia will not cross over. And people from Maryland will not cross over. It's not those hillbillies down there in Virginia. They drive pickup trucks and have shotguns. But Dr. Dina grew up in Maryland. Where in Maryland did you grow up across the river?
Right across the river, Montgomery County, Maryland. So my mom still lives I always say without traffic, about 35 minutes from where I live in Reston, and with traffic, 3 hours. But so I'm still pretty close to friends and family that I grew up with that are still in that area, which is nice, which is part of why I moved back to this area.
So Bethesda, Potomac, or Rockville, or
it's used to be called Gaithersburg. Now it's called Northern Potomac. So it's right in between Potomac and Rockville, actually.
Yeah. So I'm an immigrant. So when we first came to America, my dad bought a house in Potomac. Mm-hmm. And so my dad's house still there, 2 blocks from Churchill High School. I was
about to ask what high school did you go to? Was it Churchill?
I went to Bullis. My mom was shocked that they allowed you off campus to go down to Cabin John Shopping Center to the sub to get a sub. And they had a smoking hut. And she thought that was just ridiculously dangerous for young people. So I went to a Catholic parochial school and then a private prep school to keep me out of danger.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I got into enough danger as an adult. What do you find that you still love about your work, your job every day?
First, do you love your job?
I love my job.
You still love your job.
I love my job, like, we'll call it 90% of the time. I don't think anyone really loves their job 100% of the time. Maybe there's some people that do. 92% of the time, I really like going to work. We all have days and things that are less fun about work, but 90+% of the time, I love my job. And I think for me, it's really the same thing that drew me into general pediatrics from the beginning, which is I really like getting to know people over time. I like meeting new people too. I'm coming up on my 15-year anniversary with the practice next month. And I still meet new people all the time because people move, people shift around. Sometimes you just don't meet people. But the kids that I'm seeing now that are